Joining us, president and founder of Eurasia Group and G0 Media, Ian Bremmer. The president just said some wild stuff, which I want to get you on in a moment. But let's talk about the thesis that Kareem's put forward here, which is that the best asset that the Iranian regime has right now is the Americans' lack of support for this war.
We've seen this once before in the Trump administration. It was after Liberation Day when Trump put these tariffs, an effective trade boycott on the Chinese. America's economy, of course, is much larger, much stronger than China's, but China showed that they could outlast the Americans in their willingness to take and mete out pain. And therefore, when they put their critical minerals capacity on the table like a loaded gun, Trump had to back down. And what the Chinese did with their critical minerals and rare earths, the Iranians are now doing with the Strait of Hormuz. And they are showing Trump and the world, we are capable of causing more pain than you, elected Democratic leaders, are prepared to take. And we'll see to what extent that proves to indeed be the case. But certainly Trump over the last day backing down on his 48 hours or else we're going to blow you up implies that he understands that major economic consequences in the Gulf and more broadly are not exactly his friend.
Yeah, yes, I think that's accurate. But we've also seen him say a lot and then not do anything with those words. You know, and we'll go back to what we were talking about up top, which is the administration had been negotiating with Iran multiple times in the past. And in the middle of those negotiations, they strike. I mean, there was all the hardware and the assets that were sent to the region ahead of this war. Now we're seeing more Marines go in and troops get sent to the region. Is this just another head fake, Ian?
Well, someone made an awful lot of money off of it, right? I mean, yeah. We had these trades of $1.5 billion that were front running Trump's announcement. So first, that is clearly related and deserves unpacking. Secondly, Trump really wants to talk down oil prices. He's got a speech coming up in Miami on Friday at the FII conference, the Saudi-sponsored conference. I expect that is another opportunity seen by Trump to, until the troops are there. The troops aren't in place yet. It's around April 6th that those San Francisco troops that were based there are going to actually get to the Persian Gulf. So before that happens, I think he'd like oil prices lower. That implies that he's going to give us more public speeches and more posts that'll be about how we're engaging with the Iranians, and let's find a way to reduce the tensions and conflict. But look, I mean, the strikes are still happening from the United States and Israel against Iran, from Iran in the region. That hasn't changed. And those troops are still heading to the Gulf. And when they get there, there is a plan for them to be deployed on the ground, some 7,000 troops. And if that happens, the consequence, I mean, certainly the Trump intention will be control the strait, stop the drones from being used, and control the oil. But there are very serious risks, not least of which are the servicemen and women and their lives on the ground, but also for the global economy and for the Gulf if Trump decides to go ahead and do that. It is his decision and his decision alone that we have to recognize that is what we are waiting for.
Yeah, we were just watching him. We weren't listening, but we were watching it. My producers were listening, swearing in Markwayne Mullin. For some reason, Pete Hegseth was there, and Donald Trump's talking about how they're negotiating, and then Pete Hegseth comes to the podium and he says, "We negotiate with bombs." And then Donald Trump says the only two people that were disappointed were Pete and General Kane. They didn't want this thing to be settled. And he also made a kind of a wild claim. I don't really know what to make of this. He said Iran gave us a present, and the present arrived yesterday. It was a very big present worth a tremendous amount of money. And I'm not going to tell you what that present is. It's not nuclear related. It's oil and gas related, something to do with the Strait of Hormuz. Any earthly idea what he might be talking about?
No. I mean, the reality is the Iranians are making a lot more money now than they were making before the war. Their oil is being sold at a much higher rate because the Americans have suspended sanctions on Iranian crude that is in the Gulf. And the Indians just announced a few hours ago they're making their first purchases that we've seen in years at a significant premium over what it had been trading for. And that money is going directly to the Iranian regime, which is not changing, right? So we know what they're going to spend the money on. So yeah. I don't think that there is a big present that has come from this Iranian regime. We already know the supreme leader is not engaged in direct negotiations with Trump or the administration. There have been conversations with Iranian leaders, including the foreign minister. And there's a lot of talk about negotiations that could come in a week in Pakistan between Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff, and some Iranian leaders, maybe the foreign minister directly. That would be welcomed by the markets. But we're still, as you say, I could imagine that there would be some kind of pause in the strikes and the Iranians would like that because they're making a lot of money. But that's very different from a ceasefire. And it's very different from the Americans providing security guarantees for this Iranian regime that they just decapitated, which is an Iranian demand. And one would understand why the Iranians would want it. It's very far from the Americans taking off the table the idea that they're going to go in and destroy or remove all of the enriched uranium stocks they have, which has been a core war goal of Trump all the way through this. That hasn't changed. It's very different from stopping the Iranians from having drone capacity to hit tankers going through the Gulf. The U.S. wouldn't be able to do that without deploying ground troops to secure the coastal areas of the Strait in Iran. So, I mean, there's just so much still that is pointed towards escalation here.
Seems counterproductive to make them more money when the whole argument that Donald Trump had made for years was that they were getting too much money to enrich uranium and do bad deeds. On the prediction markets, and somebody making money off this.
Get that oil.